Hi, doll.
Hi, doll. You're here. I feel like we've been talking about this for ages.
I know. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, taking time out of your very busy schedule. Like you're taking over the world at the moment. It's wild.
Oh, stop. You're going to make me embarrassed.
No, really. Like, what a big year for you.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually only started in May, believe it or not. Really started
Really?
in May. Yeah.
Is that when you just like
That's when we
explode?
launched Instagram.
Yeah, wow.
It was in May.
Jeez. The year goes by so quickly. It's
It
wild.
does.
Like,
It does.
you just exploded onto the scene. Before we get into that, like, I really want to know, you know, you launched in May, but what was that journey like for you before May? What didn't we see on socials? Because I'm sure there was such a huge journey up until that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it all really started for me when I left my corporate role. So I actually had 6 months off maternity leave. I went back to work to my corporate position and the business had changed quite dramatically when I was on leave. And I think that was a real kick up the arse to kind of go and pursue this huge itch that I've had for about 10 years to start my own business.
Wow.
And I've had a couple of different concepts that I've wanted to pursue over the years. And I've always been really obsessed with the hair and beauty space. And I think that obsession comes from all of the people that have served me over the years as a client, whether that's my facialist, Amar Skin Couture on High Street Armidale, who literally like changed my skin in my 20s, or my hairdresser that weaned me off extensions, even though Don Pelly still thinks I need them. She weaned me off extensions and got me on my hair health journey. That was Jay from Edwards & Co. Oh. Girl Jay, I should say. Sorry.
Oh,
yes,
Girl
Jay. Jay Doonan, who now owns Stand Studio in Queensland.
Oh, yeah. I know Stand Studio.
Yeah, Jay, beautiful Jay girl. So I think I've always... Oh, sorry, one more I just want to hook in there. Or
Please.
my manicurist who knows where all my bodies are buried, Clareman from Mayfair Studios on the Central Coast. So all these relationships are really special to me. And I've always had this respect for the industry and feel like they're being underserved from a technology perspective and also a bit overlooked and disregarded as well.
100%.
So I don't know if you've seen all of those like reels going around social media where it's like just a hairdresser, but you know, they're the first person to hear about their client getting engaged, or they're the first person to be told about someone being on their IVF journey, or they just met a guy on Hinge, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these special people, that's how I would explain them in the industry, they go on this journey with their clients, and I think they are overlooked and disregarded. I think that sometimes they're seen as like just a hairdresser or just a manicurist, but you know, the people in the industry, they're leaving school at 14, 15, 16, they're doing their apprenticeships, they're super entrepreneurial, they're starting their own businesses, they're opening salons and studios, maybe they're doing multiple locations, and they're figuring it out as they go.
Yeah.
And they're doing all the things, right? They're working on the salon floor, they're running a team, they're doing the marketing, they're doing social media, like super entrepreneurial. And I think from the outside looking in, I looked at the industry and said, it's an overlooked and disregarded industry. There's not tech solutions built specifically for them. They're not necessarily tech lovers either. And that's what kind of led me to say, well, what solutions do I think are missing in the space?
Yeah,
and, you know,
wow.
how can I help really without sounding overbearing? It's like, how can I help elevate the industry from a technology standpoint?
That's really quite a powerful place to land, because you're so right. There's nothing. Or if there are tech solutions, they're quite geared towards salon software. And then even
Booking systems.
Yeah, booking systems. And even in that playing field, there's a very large spectrum of outdated to like relatively, you know, current. But once you get out of that space again, there's not very much. So tell me a little bit more about we're going to skip over, but I'm going to come back to a topic around your investment journey. But since we're here, let's chat about what is it in particular that the Beauty Grail solves, right? I know that the industry needs this, but from your perspective, why does the industry need this, and what is the problem that it solves?
Yeah, sure. So I think I would explain it as a two-sided problem. If you think about educators, with the boom of kind of monetization technology, like you can monetize with Instagram subscription, you can sell a course. There's all these different tools that are implementing like monetization features. Educators are looking to monetize their knowledge in a scalable way. So that's one side of the problem that we're looking to solve. And then the other side is, everyone's thinking global these days. Like social media has changed the game, and we have access to people now on a global scale, whether that's on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it may be. And from a student or subscriber perspective, people are really looking for that connection. I think in the industry, being a trend-driven industry, like you're always learning. Always learning. And online education is a really cost-effective way to access that skill and development and upskill yourself without having to constantly pay for in-person education. Now, don't get me wrong, in-person education is extremely important, but in the corporate industry, everyone's talking about hybrid learning. So it's like, how can you deliver hybrid learning online, in-person, in an industry like this that is quite overlooked and disregarded from a technology solution perspective? So in short, we help educators launch their online education, and we help students or subscribers access online education from all of their favourite educators in a singular platform, because let's be real, we don't need all of these platforms, right? So when you're looking to access online education in the hair industry, you might have an Instagram subscription, you might have your colour brands online education platform as well. You might have some stuff you need to do online with TAFE. There's all of these platforms, and I think whether it's in this industry or across the board, like everyone's platform fatigued and technology fatigued. And
just see my tech stack.
I know. It's what, even like I am like working in tech, right? Like I don't want to learn another platform right now, So it's like that centralized place where you can access all of your favorite educators.
It's interesting because I think hairdressers and stylists, particularly independents, have now got this idea that Instagram subscription is it.
And a bit.
And, now it's there's a couple of problems within that. And I think from an outsider perspective looking in, I do believe that the biggest problem with that is that you don't own that data. You don't, like, if something happened with Meta and it collapsed tomorrow, that's your whole money generating model gone. So the Beauty Grail for me is almost like an aggregation of all of that. It's a single place where you're not subject to the algorithm.
100%. 100%. And I think, I think educators are on Instagram. I love to see it. Do you know what I mean? They're on there. They're being entrepreneurial. They're seeing the market shift and change, and they're jumping on that, and they understand that they have knowledge to monetize, right? And there's a need and there's a demand for it. And I love seeing that. But when you look at Instagram subscription, you lose 30% of your revenue in transaction fees.
30%, wow, that's
30%,
huge.
yeah. So although Instagram doesn't charge you to use the feature, because it transacts through the Apple or Google Play Store, that's 30% in transaction fees that you lose. You also need 10K minimum followers to access the functionality of,
which is so hard to get.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's not a learning platform. Do you know what I mean? And I do think though in this industry, online learning does kind of sit somewhere between social media and corporate style online learning. I don't think it's fair to assume that this industry needs something quite corporate, because that's definitely not the case.
Look at how little adoption there is to LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. The other thing I will say is that, Instagram can't really facilitate Salon subscriptions or Salon licenses. And I think that for salon owners, you know, the days of running a salon have changed and really evolved. And you do see people talking about how the industry has changed when you're talking about how you train and retain your team, how you structure your incentives, what's that development look like, you know, internal succession planning within the salon, and, you know, online learning is a really great way to train and retain your team in a cost-effective way.
It also means, you know, shutting the salon and everybody taking an excursion to an education day is a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money.
To the business, a lot of money that you would pay, then you lose whatever clients you had for the day. So the Beauty Grail sounds like it is a almost take-home way for some of your team to continue learning on their own time without that huge cost to the business, right?
100%. Yeah.
So just going back now to when we were talking about the start of your journey. So you launched in May, but you and I had a conversation quite recently that I found incredibly shocking, and it's the statistics of startups led by female entrepreneurs and the realities around how many of them get investment. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because it is definitely one of the drivers around the why we're building what we're building. So in the technology space, if you think about all of your favorite apps, you know, Instagram, TikTok, maybe as a salon owner using Xero for business, maybe using Timely if you're booking platform or something like that. All of these tech companies have achieved the growth that they've achieved due to investor funding. And in that investor funding landscape, particularly in tech startups, it's 3% of funding goes to women-founded businesses. Now, the flow-on effect of that is that, you know, when you're starting a business, whether it's in technology or somewhere else, you're normally starting a business because you're passionate about something or you see a problem that you think needs to be addressed or you see a gap in the market, right? So what happens when there's such a gender disparity in investment is that there are a lot of industries, female-led industries or minority-led industries that are overlooked and disregarded from a technology solutions point of view, right?
Oh, wow.
And that makes me really mad and really frustrated. And, you know, the amount of times over the last 12 months when maybe I'm having a mentoring session or I'm talking to someone in the industry and they'll say things to me like, oh, like that's like a tech, that's an industry. They're a bit of a tech laggard, you know, like how do you think that's going to go? Or is that an industry that you really want to sell into? Like, don't you just want to sell into like a B2B industry?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the world doesn't need another tech company with a blue logo and a rocket ship.
100%.
And going back to the love for the industry, you know, it's entrepreneurial, it's female-led, you know, all of these things, and they need some great technology solutions as well. And even recently I was listening to a podcast that Jose from O&M was on, and she was actually talking about a very similar statistic for her when she was actually raising money for O&M to grow and expand the business. And it was a very similar story when looking at private equity investment, even in a product-based industry. So, you know, I talk about it from a perspective of technology, but it kind of exists out there, and that's almost gives female-led entrepreneurs like a bit of a false start in getting going.
It is quite maddening, isn't it? I personally, I don't understand it. Do you think though, so it almost sounds like what you're saying is the reason why there's a real lack of tech solutions and tools for hairdressers and salon owners to use is because of that statistic. People not fundamentally understanding how this industry works unless they're, you know, females or in the industry, but then also not being able to secure investment for those solutions.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that tech's expensive to build as well. But I think that's in a lot of female-led industries, not just this industry, you know, and I think when we talk about the industry being overlooked and disregarded, there's a lot of female-led industries that are overlooked and disregarded. You know, all you need to do is look at like the gender pay gap across industries as well. You know, it kind of permeates through different facets. But I think, you know, people want to solve problems that they're passionate about, right?
Yeah.
And whether that's also whether that's tech being a predominantly male-led industry as well. And then when you look at like venture capital firms or investment firms and you look at like the gender mix in those firms as well, it'd be safe to say it's predominantly male-led sector as well, banking, finance.
Wild.
So that the flow and effect of that is compounding.
Yeah. I used to work in crypto, and there was a event that happened, and there was 2 bathrooms, a male and a female bathroom, and there was a huge line for the men's bathroom. So what they did was they placed a sign over the women's bathroom and turned it into another men's bathroom for the 3 or 4 women that were at that event. Like, it's just so wild to me that these things are still happening. Like,
still happening all the time.
It's wild. And, you know, like Josie at O&M as well, I have heard that story. And why would you do this? There's no such thing as clean and kind color, but now look at it, right?
People call you crazy. Even like people who maybe thought might support you or might cheer you on, you can kind of sense or like pick up on a bit of doubt at times. And everyone thinks you're crazy until you actually deliver it.
Yeah. Oh, people, I have had like a couple of like mentoring sessions and whatnot, and, you know, they're like, why did you pick this industry? You know? Like, why? Like, literally why? People have tried. Like, yeah, but people have tried, but, you know, like, they're not me, you know, or they're not you. And I think that's the difference, right?
100%.
So, no, good for you for doing this. Like, the industry needs you.
Thank you.
It really does. Okay, next question.
Yes. Hit me.
Before we start crying.
I might start welling up. I'm a few days out from it. Can we just talk, just speaking of periods, can we just talk about, I don't know if we talked about this, but I think you'll find this interesting. I want to talk about something that went viral on LinkedIn, which I am calling Flowgate.
Flowgate.
Flowgate. Did we talk about this?
No.
Okay.
But I've heard of this. I've seen it somewhere.
Yes. So I want to talk about something called Flowgate, just to go on as a bit of a continuation on the gender investment gap. So I'm sure a lot of people listening probably use period tracking apps to like track their period and menstrual cycle.
We did talk about this. Yes.
I'm calling it Flowgate. It's like self-appointed name.
Yep, love it.
So there was a blow up on LinkedIn, and understand, you know, a lot of people listening don't give a shit about LinkedIn, but continue on listening, please. There was a bit of a controversy on LinkedIn recently about the period tracking app Flow reaching unicorn status. So in the tech world, or probably a lot of different industries, once you reach $1 billion business valuation, you were classified as a unicorn. And Flow, the period tracking app, reached that valuation. Now, Flow was actually the first female tech app to reach unicorn status, which is a really big deal.
Huge.
And interestingly, Flow was founded by men.
Oh my God. It's like Inception. How did that even happen?
Yeah, I know. And, you know, this isn't about, you know, hating on the male species, right? But it paints a really interesting picture, because there's no doubt that they weren't the first and only company to look at supporting women track their periods and menstrual cycles, you know, pregnancy and beyond, right?
Sure. Like, there's
through
no
technology.
Way, there is no way a female entrepreneur did not already think 100%. Of that and take that to an investor.
100%, yeah. But that is the gender investment gap playing out in real life today. Flowgate.
Wild.
How
do we fix it? Like, it's just more people like you just taking control, and you're pushing for what your vertical needs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, right? Because you kind of need to recognise it and call it out, but it's kind of a fine line where you want to like touch your toe and talk about it, but how far over the line are you willing to go to
Yeah.
kind of like voice your opinion, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a slow, extremely slow progress. And if you're looking to build a tech company at scale, like global scale, you're probably going to need venture capital investment or some form of investment at some stage.
Is it like you build your platform and then it's something that you can tackle when you have the platform? I suppose my question to you is,
What's the path?
in the future, you build the Beauty Grail, it takes over, the industry, it's very successful, which I've no doubt it will be. At that point, is that when you might turn to this and go, I'm going to have more of an active voice and use my platform now to try and push for change?
100%, definitely. I think there's a couple of things. Like I think about, the numbers don't lie. So I'm a big believer in, get your business to a position where it's producing a certain level of numbers, insights, analytics that tell a really great story. So it's a lot harder for investors to disregard you or knock you back because they're all looking for a great financial model or a great financial story, right?
Yeah.
But for me, that's not at the expense of the people that I'm trying to serve or the customers that I'm trying to serve as well, right? Because like ultimately, I'm not here to build a venture capital backed business. I'm here to serve the hair and beauty industry, those two sides of the problem, right?
Yeah.
And the output of that is that it's a venture capital backed business that can scale globally. And I think sometimes people look at that the wrong way around. They're saying, what's an investable business? And I'm going to build my business around that versus, if you focus on your customers and listen to their needs and really help them, that should deliver you the outcome that you're after ultimately.
And that speaks quite highly too. I think there's a lot of trends in conversation at the moment around retention and like doing the things for the customers that you have now and not prioritizing, new clients and then churning out all of your customers. And I think that mentality of focusing on your customer and what the customer wants, the customer success path, all of those things, really getting in the mind of your customer, which we've spoken about before, your customer back to front. Those are the key things to a successful business, I think. Last year, I saw all over your socials that you went to Main Stage, you went to O&M MFO.
Yeah.
And it looks so good.
So good.
Did you have fun?
Amazing. Amazing.
I was
the hair industry really know how to do an event.
I mean, yes.
Yes.
That is correct. Like, honestly, I remember the first time I went to one of the hair awards, I was like, this is like the bloody Oscars. This is wild. What were some of your, takeaways from those events?
Yeah, we did Made for Originals first, and to be honest with you, we were just winging it. Like, we actually just put together a brief, we made it look really slick, we DM'd all the educators and said, hey, we're going to be at Made for Originals, and we'd love to chat with you about XYZ. We put together question sets for the educators, and it kind of just snowballed from there. And I think that's the buy-in that we got from that, which was amazing. Beautiful Grace Kelly from Shag Hair in Newcastle then said to Luke Dean, hey Luke, the Beauty Grail team, they're doing something cool. I think you should reach out to them. We then got media passes and then became something a bit more official. But I think what I kind of love about that story is it was just something like a really scrappy idea that we just ran with and it just got some really nice traction. And, such an amazing event. So great to get the hair industry together in a format like that and have the opportunity to speak with educators and kind of ask them those questions that the Beauty Girl community wanted to know, like what are their burning questions.
Who was your favourite artist that you spoke to?
Oh my gosh, that's such a tough one.
They're all so wonderful.
I know, they are all so wonderful. It's really tough. It's like, you're not meant to have favourite children, but you always do.
You can't not, you're only human.
I know. Well, I think Kim dressed all of us in Ape, so shout out to Kim because that was such a lovely offer from her to dress all of us for the day, so that was amazing. We actually did a 2-part interview series with Sheridan from Mama West.
Love Sheridan.
I know. We actually couldn't edit down her interview into one part.
I've tried editing some of her stuff as well.
I know.
It's just so much good stuff.
I know. Just like she's like so raw, and she's just leads with authenticity, and she's just so captivating to interview. Like I think she like really got me in the feels with her interview. I'm like quite a sentimental person, so she really got me in the feels, 100%. Chatting with Carl Dawson, I mean, he's just so hilarious. That was a very like entertaining, funny, like sassy interview. Like Carl always brings a sass.
Carl Dawson, always sassy.
Always sassy, always kind of like tips his toe over the line just a little bit, and that content always performs. And I think also chatting with Kendall from the US.
Oh, she's a sweetheart.
Oh, she's just like such a sweetie.
Yeah.
And just such a beautiful person.
Yeah.
You know, like having watched a lot of her content on Instagram, but like seeing her in person and just, you know, how she embraces people and how she talks and engages with people. And she's just super humble and
really genuine.
Yeah, really genuine, and just loves having a chance to meet with her.
Yeah, it was really nice meeting her actually. I caught this beautiful moment between her and a friend after she had finished the colour work.
Right.
It was so special. Like the sun was in the background. They had this like hugging moment. Oh. It was so lovely.
Yeah, gorge.
All right, so we're going to do some would you rathers. I'm just going to fire at them.
Go for it.
Wait, I'm just going to fire them at you.
Fire. What did you say?
Fire at them.
I'm like, yes, go.
I'm just going to fire at them. Yeah, I'm just going to fire them at you and react quickly, but just tell us in one real quick sentence why you've chosen that one. All right? Okay, ready?
Ready.
Boost posts on IG or run ads in Meta?
Meta ads.
Why?
I think they just give you better traction in your funnel from a marketing perspective.
Agreed. All right. Write captions with AI or use AI to train your sales staff to sell more retail?
I think you should already be doing the first, so definitely the second.
Good answer. I agree. Captions with AI, I mean, that's basic. Send automated birthday messages to all your clients or hand write messages.
Hand write, 100%. I don't even need you to finish that sentence.
Why?
Personal touch. I think there's certain things that you shouldn't use AI for. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Unless you've got something that you want to elevate with AI, which I don't think like foundationally, that personal connection is really important.
I back that.
Yeah.
I do back that. I knew you were going to say that as well. All right. Post trend-based reels or focus on always on ads?
Oh, I'm actually going to go trend-based reels.
Why?
Because we've actually never done an ad before to date.
Have you not? Wow.
Never done an ad. We're actually about to do our first ad.
Wow.
Never done an ad. All of our growth has been organic social.
That's so cool.
Jewel from Modern Day Social.
Jewel from Modern Day Social.
We make a great team.
Call me. Okay, cool. Client retention or new clients?
Client retention.
Amen. Post manually or schedule?
Manually.
Oh, what?
Manually,
Really?
yes, I know.
What?
Call me crazy, but I am manual. So like, I do everything manually. Like every comment, every DM, everything manual.
Kudos to you.
Manual. I mean, might not be forever, but I think when you're trying to grow, when you're building the account, and you know, I'm not a social media expert, but when you're trying to grow the account from zero, I mean, I'm also a bit of a control freak. So, you know,
You're an entrepreneur.
based on the day I post, like, I want to make sure I've got the right audio for that day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I like to make all of those selections. And sometimes with our content, we can be quite reactive because we are looking at like entertainment, social type content. So I think, I've just always been a manual girl from day one.
Having that agility is quite important. I can see why. We schedule. Here's a good one. Live with the 1-star Google review or get it removed?
Oh, I think live with the 1-star Google review because I think it's actually about how you respond to it as a business owner and how you actually handle that feedback. You know, within the context of it depends on the basis of that 1-star review. Like if it's just completely outlandish, like false, but if there is maybe some truth to it, or or that's that customer's real experience, I think that you're always going to be hit with a 1-star at some stage.
Always.
And it's actually about how you respond and handle it as a business owner, I think.
It's a good answer.
Because people are watching.
Yeah, it is a good answer. Particularly in this landscape where it's really easy to get a viral negative video blown up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like how you handle that is really says a lot more about you, I think. That's the thing that
As
people
an operator.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And the last one, tracking IG impressions or tracking how many people click through your book now button on your website.
Ooh. I think for salon owners, it's probably book now. I mean, it depends on what your goals are though, right? Like if you're trying to get bums on seats, right, it's book now. But if you're happy with your bums on seats, do you know what I mean? And you're looking to sustain where you're at, maybe it's more growth and exposure.
I think there's like a raising awareness at the moment, or like a collective awareness that's being raised with how people track certain actions in their salon. Whereas like maybe a couple of years ago, if you'd asked someone, how many people clicked book now on your website? They'd be like, how do I check that? Whereas now it's becoming part of this, like you said earlier, this shifting industry, like the industry's changing, people are becoming a little bit more aware and actually suddenly asking questions that, well, hang on, I've spent X with you, like how is it actually bringing me an ROI?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Whereas like something like impressions is, I think, super accessible, but doesn't necessarily always translate to bums and seats.
100%. 100%. Again, it's like and that goes back to like what are your business goals?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes it's quite easy to get caught up in social media metrics as a bit of a vanity measure versus what is it actually doing and driving for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see so many of these huge accounts with huge followings, but then they tank because they actually never actually converted into a real customer.
Yeah, or they're not focusing on that part of the business, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Let's chat about your marketing.
Okay.
So, can we just go straight into it, Nick? Yeah. Okay. So, I like to check. Sometimes he likes to clap.
All right.
Just for context.
Yeah.
I'm missing the clap. That's what I was asking.
I love it.
So, I don't think it's any secret, right, that the hair industry as a collective find tech boring. Like, you know it, I know it. We all know it. Tech is boring, like you said. Blue logos, rockets, it's not the vibe. And you are, at heart, a tech company. Yes. But you never have presented like a tech market. Like, was that always part of the marketing strategy?
100%.
100%. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I think like in this industry, people find tech, like you said, boring and maybe a bit of a hurdle sometimes. So it's like, how can you, as a brand, remove that stigma and that feeling from a branding, engagement, marketing perspective? So when we actually briefed in the creative studio on the branding, we're very clear, we do not want it to feel like a tech company. Like we've talked about, the world doesn't need another blue logo on rocket ship. We want it to feel more like a Pinterest board or more like a magazine or more like a fashion or beauty brand. And that was very intentional. I mean, I'm sure people maybe in the tech industry might roast me for that or might turn their nose up at it at some stage, and that's fine. Like, I'm ready for it.
I've got your back, doll, don't worry.
Thanks, doll. But yeah, that was very, very intentional.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to be inspirational. We wanted to feel a bit more like, a Pinterest mood board versus something like versus a clunky tech business.
I've seen your logos. Obviously, I've seen Instagram, but do you have something that you can show that's like an example?
Yes, I brought one with me today.
Oh, here's one I made earlier.
Here's something I prepared earlier. So, anytime we do something physical, my heart squeals a little bit inside.
Look at it.
Jewel looks really bored over there. My heart squeals a little bit inside because, you know, like building a tech platform, I don't have a physical product or anything like that. So we're about to do some paper-based marketing in the lead up to the launch of the platform next year. And anytime we do anything like this, I just absolutely
Look
love
at it. It's so cool. And did you guys take this image yourself?
No, that's just from Pinterest.
Love it. But it just shows how like accessible marketing is for salons. Like you've just gone to Pinterest, you've found this beautiful image, you've put it together, you've turned it into a physical thing, you've
100%.
taken, like you said, you don't have a product yet, but you're almost productizing the idea of the product that's coming. You know what I mean? Like this is really cool.
Thank you. We're excited.
So do we have a launch date? Can we talk about that?
We can talk about it. So we are launching early this year. We are speaking to educators every week at the moment. We are very focused on educators launching very well because we are going to be very involved in onboarding everyone onto the platform because execution and quality is everything. We're also building a wait list for students and subscribers who want to be the first to know when we go live. And we've got some really exciting marketing happening that might feel a little bit techie, actually. It's something that I've been ideating and working on a concept for quite some time. And we're very focused on elevating the creative.
Yeah.
So like elevating the hairdresser, right? Like we're serving an industry that serves someone else full time. And we really want to elevate the hairdresser, the beauty therapist, the makeup artist, the manicurist, the creative in a way that we don't think many other people are doing because they're our hero, right? So we're working on a very exciting concept for launch. For our first educators that are coming on board.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they going to get like cool collateral to like celebrate they're the first members in the club?
Maybe.
So cool. I'm ready. We're all ready for it.
Thanks, Sol.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.